Hello Stampers, welcome to the craft room and my first episode of card play. We're going to be making this small 3x3 thank you note card, really adorable to put in a small envelope or include with a small gift to say thank you to somebody. To begin, you're going to need a small piece. This is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 piece of very vanilla cardstock. We're also going to be using the ... Stampin' Up! Stamp. It's a great background stamp. And our Baja Breeze Classic ink. You're also going to take your wide oval punch and a piece of scrap paper. I have one over here. And I'm just going to punch out one of these wide ovals that we can then use for a mask. Because as you'll see on the front of this card, I masked this area so that we don't have the dots going every place on the front of the card. So we're going to use a little bit of temporary adhesive on the back of that mask and then place it where you're going to want your greeting. So I'm going to place it right about there or so. Make sure that's straight. And we're going to open up our Baja Breeze ink pad and go ahead and ink up our ... stamp. Great. And then I stamp this at half strength. So you're going to want to stamp off once and then go ahead and line it up and stamp down on your piece of cardstock. And use a good deal of pressure and lift. And then we're going to keep the mask on here for now, and we're going to go ahead and take another stamp. This one is going to be from the Baroque Motifs stamp set. We're going to take this large stamp, and I'm going to go ahead and find an area that I like. I really kind of like this leafy image here, so I'm going to turn that over, and I'm just going to ink up that portion of the stamp. Great. And again, and actually this time instead of going half strength, I'm going to go full strength. And I'm going to line that up how I want it and stamp that portion of that image. Again, keeping the mask in place, because now what you'll see is when we remove the mask and that temporary adhesive we can just make go away, we've got a really pretty kind of swirly image at the beginning of the leaf pattern. I'm also going to go ahead and take the greeting "Thanks so much" from the Sincere Salutations stamp set. And to do this part, to make sure that I'm centered, I am going to use my Stamp-A-Majig. So let me move this out of the way. I'm going to bring the clear sheet, put it into the corner of my Stamp-A-Majig, and open up my Early Espresso Classic pad. I'm going to ink that up and go ahead and put that stamp right in the corner of my Stamp-A-Majig and stamp down so that I now have that greeting on the transfer sheet. Then I'm going to go ahead, bring this piece back, and see exactly where I'd like to line up that greeting. That looks pretty good to me. Great. And we're going to line up that Stamp-A-Majig again. Remove the transfer sheet. Going to go ahead and ink up that stamp again, and then go ahead and stamp down and back up. Beautiful. So that's our top layer. What I'm going to go ahead and do is adhere that using some snail to this 2 7/8 by 2 7/8 piece of Early Espresso cardstock. So let's snail that down. Right. I like to give that a nice little layered effect. And then what I'd like to do is go ahead and make this ribbon. You'll notice that this ribbon is Baja Breeze colored, and I didn't begin with a Baja Breeze piece of ribbon. Instead what I did was I took my Whisper White taffeta ribbon and I went ahead and cut off an 11-inch piece of this ribbon. So this is 11 inches long. And then what I did, which is what I love to do to color these ribbons, is I took a little bit of my Baja Breeze ink, classic ink, and I put it into one of these small misters, a little spray bottle with a little bit of water. And then what I'm going to do, and just to keep things neat, I'm going to bring this box here. I have a box I like to do all of my spraying in. I'm going to bring this box here, and I'm going to spray this ink. Let's shake it up just a little bit, make sure it's spraying in the right direction. And I'm just going to go ahead and spray this piece of ribbon. And I'm going to turn it over and spray the back side too. I seem to be getting more spray over my box than I am on my ribbon. That's fine. The other thing that I like to spray with to give this a little bit of glitz and glitter is I have another small bottle that I have filled with champagne shimmer mist paint and a little bit of alcohol. And I'm shaking that up, and I'm going to go ahead and spray, give this a spritz right over what I just did. It's hard to see it on the video, but that gives this piece of ribbon a little bit of shimmer. And now it is thoroughly soaked, as you can tell. So I'm going to go ahead and get my heat tool out, since I have very little patience. And I'm going to go ahead and start to heat this up to dry it. And it might take a little bit of time. If you have more patience than I have, you can actually go ahead and let this ribbon set out and actually let it dry on its own. Or if you're impatient like me and like getting your cards done pretty quickly, you can go ahead and give it a nice dry. It'll take a little bit of time. As it starts to dry, it gets a little bit more sparkly. If you do this with your white organza ribbon as opposed to your taffeta ribbon, what you have to watch out for, which can also create a neat effect, is that your organza ribbon will actually start to melt a little bit and curl up. Whereas here, the taffeta ribbon won't do that from the heat. At least I haven't had that experience yet. So that looks pretty heated up and feels pretty dry to me. So we're going to take that ribbon. Yep, feels really dry. Excellent. I'm going to move this box out of the way. We're going to go ahead and take this piece of ribbon and just tie it around the bottom. And I like to knot things, and how I knot is I tend to take the piece that's in my left hand and go over the one that's in my right, and then I bring the one that's on top down and through to 6 o'clock, and the other one is at 12 o'clock, and I pull nice and taut, and then I use my middle finger here for very good purposes to hold that knot in place, and then I bring this bottom one around to the left hand side of the top one, around and through. So now I am going to be at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. My fingers were a little bit skinnier right now. That might help, because this is a very small piece. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull, and that creates a pretty nice bow. Done that just a little bit closer. Let me try that again. I'm realizing these are not good ribbon scissors. So let me take my other scissors, my snips, that are a lot sharper, that will then go ahead and snip and snip. Now we're going to go ahead and just turn that over and take some dimensionals and pop that up. And then we're just going to go ahead and take that 6x3 piece that I scored in the middle, and we're going to adhere that to the center. And if you wanted, you can make a cute little matching envelope for this card. You could go ahead and take your ... stamp, and I'm going to go ahead and ink that up again, oops, with the Baja Breeze. I'm going to go ahead and stamp off here, and then I'm going to go ahead and just stamp the edge here. I like that it's just a part of it. I think that that's really cute and mirrors the masking effect that I did on the front. And there you have it. Thank you for joining me for this first episode of Card Play. I hope you've enjoyed this project, and I hope to see you again soon here in the craft room.